sorry to tell you this, but your pen pal is an AI named Lucy. And this is China Spoilers.
I'm gonna start, and then whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hi, and welcome to China Spoilers. I am Emily, that is Peter, and we are in China and talking about stuff. Guess whose birthday it is?
My dad's?
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, happy birthday, your dad.
Guess how old he is?
Is he 70?
Well, ish. You never tell a human man's time, but
Yeah.
it's about the same as China.
Oh, because it was also China's birthday. Both my sister's birthday and my grandma's birthday and your birthday and your dad's birthday
Jesus
are all this month. I know a
Christ.
lot of October birthdays, including China now.
But not Jesus Christ.
Not Jesus Christ. His birthday is very famous and not in October.
Really? Tell us more about Christmas.
Yeah. It's this little known holiday where a guy brings a sack around and jumps down your chimney. And after this home invasion, he leaves you some presents, but takes some cookies.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, that's the meaning of Christmas. But National Day is the birthday of China. It's the 70th year of the founding of the People's Republic of China. And they had a special song this year, which you've heard this song, right?
I have. Are you gonna try and sing it?
No. Are you?
It sounds like
And it's following me everywhere, including we have a neighbor who's practicing it on the saxophone.
yeah, that was cool. I mean, sort of.
Yeah, I mean they were okay, and then they couldn't hit the highest note, which was you wanted them to get there.
So it's kind of like the national anthem back in America.
Kind of. Well, and I feel like
Do you
since
think all anthems have that high note that we all strive
that
for?
we all can't get. Oh yeah, that not the national anthem,
Well, I mean,
the song they sing before baseball games.
yeah. Whatever we do for our country during times of joy.
Oh wait, no, that is the national anthem.
Isn't it?
Yeah. No, I was thinking, yeah, because people complain about that one, that it should be, this land is your land.
Is that what they want?
That's what I've heard,
Oh.
that's like a prettier song. Or no.
It's a funner song. It's a very...
And then as I was singing that, I was like, do people want that? That's very like, share our wealth and communist.
Yeah.
No, it's
a very woodsy tune.
From the mountains to the prairies. That's the one that people, I think, prefer. Write in the comments, what song do you think
What
fits
is the
America
preferred
the
American
best?
song?
Yeah. God Bless America, that's the one that people want instead of...
I thought you were proclaiming that right
Just,
now.
I don't proclaim anything.
You wouldn't walk 500 miles?
I would walk 500 miles.
For your country?
Da-da-da-da. How many miles is it across America?
I don't know.
How long would, like, 500 miles be? Is that to, like, the grocery store?
I don't know. Did they ever mention that in that book, Walk Across America?
Is that a book?
Isn't that like a famous book that we all had to read? At least in the 80s.
Are you talking about, like, Hands Across America?
No, it's
Is
like
there a book that goes with that?
Yeah, there's the novelization of Hands Across America. One by one.
You were alive for that, right?
Yeah.
Did you Hands Across America?
I don't think so. I think it was like during school, and maybe it was. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I feel like there was a reason
Your
why.
school didn't do it? That
Yeah.
feels like a school, a special event.
But
Feels like schools only would be doing it.
But like, it would depend on your resources, I suppose, of like, if it was going through your town. Maybe it didn't go through all towns or something. Otherwise,
I guess
it'd be like winding all over.
Yeah. It's not Hands
And a mass
completely covering America. You'd have to be on the belt, I guess. And which way did they go? From Canada to Mexico or from sea to shining sea?
I don't know, it was very confusing.
This brings up a lot of questions about my own country.
Yeah, on this holiday of 70 years of China proper,
Yeah.
what the hell do I know about my country? Hands Across America did not work. I thought it was a Pepsi commercial or something, I guess.
Yeah. To me, it's just like
Corporate America.
a punchline of sitcoms because I wasn't born yet. No, but this song I feel like has followed me all over town, which is not the first time. China seems to like grab onto a song and play it constantly.
We
like,
heard Welcome to Beijing Welcomes You
Yeah.
like 100 million times, especially turned into Luzhou Welcomes You.
Yeah, and then when Luzhou was going for the accreditation as a civilized city, which is their term, not ours. There was a song that played constantly, but this time the National Day song had different versions even. In this short span of 2 weeks, I've heard like 4 versions of it, including our saxophone neighbor.
He was the jazzier version? Or she? I don't know.
Yeah, and then there's like one that sounds like it's the beginning to a Lord of the Rings style saga. It just has like very swelling orchestration, and then there's one that's very like old school traditional Chinese classic like.
I think that was the more sanctioned high end.
I can't tell.
The Lord of the Rings ones, they tend
That's
to do
the one
that
our school played at our National Day event, which was.
That gets used in a lot of commercials. That really Game of Thrones like.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 Conan high horn beating.
Well, it's not, it was more of a like the opening was like very legato violins, like no, and I really like that version. It sounds like Galadriel. Is that someone from Lord of the Rings? The elf queen, like the elf queen coming to Earth, or Middle Earth, as it were.
I thought that was like. Oh, I'm thinking of madrigals.
Yeah, that's a type of song.
It was like, that's interesting. They're playing, Galadriels?
Yeah, isn't that her name?
I don't know.
Right in the comments.
More things we don't know. I don't know about Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, America, China.
Isn't it already a YouTube strategy to like make mistakes in your video?
Oh, yeah.
So we'll just like completely not fact check anything. And you're the fact checker. And then we also had like a super weird cold, both you and I.
Yeah.
Not China, just me and
the
you.
Entire.
I mean, I'm sure other people have had it because it contaged from you to me, so. But the weird thing about this cold is not that like, I feel like the actual coldy, flu-y symptoms were minimal. And that's because I take a ton of medicine normally to mitigate those symptoms.
Allergy stuff.
Allergies and asthma. Where's my glasses? But this one is just like I felt more tired than I've ever been in my life, but then also like I'm fine. And then I'll get up and do stuff, and then I feel like crazy and tired.
Maybe it's like that's kind of like what happened to our VPN.
Yeah, maybe we got it from the VPN, just a sluggishness and
it keeps all of us foreigners like docile.
Malaise.
On the holiday.
But no, as a cold, it's been weird because I don't feel sick except that I can't do anything.
Same here.
Yeah. Well, that's why I don't like. It's not just how it's manifesting in me. Whatever these germs are doing, we both are just like.
We're germ.
We've been like I've never actually felt the meaning of the word sluggish before, but we'd spent the week like.
And the temperature's drastically changing. One day it's like
Yeah.
too hot, the next day it's too cold, but it's always sweaty.
Yeah, I went to the mall yesterday because I thought I was up for it in a tank top and a hoodie, and then I got like so hot in the mall that I was like sweating, and then was like, I wonder if I should buy a drum machine right now. So
The answer usually being yes. You
But,
made the right decision
I
and said no.
I should ask Peter first. I should think I'm feeling crazy right now. I shouldn't buy that.
And instead you got some more plants. Which you
Yeah,
can
instead I
kinda
bought
see,
some
down the
more
corner.
plants, which the basil herbs I do have some knowledge are like depending on the herb, kind of easy to grow in a pot. I bought carrots. I live in an apartment.
28 floor carrots?
Yeah.
That just screams of the earth.
And then I bought something.
There's cabbages and stuff growing on the roof, though.
But carrots need a root. They need the root down, you know?
But
And
like,
so
somebody's got like potted, like there's dirt patches on the roof. It's like Brooklyn
Yeah.
up there.
Vegetables drying in the sunny front courtyard. Maybe for pickling. This is not exclusively a countryside thing. Or maybe the countryside still finds its way into the city somehow, too. Whatever the weather, in many open spaces near urban us, if there aren't dancing ladies in it, there are beans and leaves drying in the sun. Our students told us they by far preferred country to city when we polled them on it. The countryside is peaceful, they said. The air is fresh. The city is not those things. And we found it disarmingly quiet. There was singular noise from time to time. A car or loudspeaker.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. People are growing stuff, but carrots seem especially ill-suited to an apartment. And then I also bought. It said it was Greek basil in English, and in my cold haze, I was like, we have like Italian sweet basil. I'll see what's the difference between with Greek basil. And then I read the Chinese when I got home, and it said hot pepper. So it's not at all basil. But I mean, we grow pepper at the kindergarten in roof buckets, so I actually do have a little more hope for that. Although I did my research after dumping the seeds in the dirt, and I found like pepper does well if you germinate it in a paper towel first.
Is this black pepper or is this red pepper or green pepper?
Like red peppers, yeah.
Because there's not like...
The Chinese said la jiao, so I think it's red peppers.
There's not
or
like-
green, I guess it could be green hot peppers.
Because there's not like buckets of that in every corner of every room.
I know. I don't need to grow my own, except it makes me feel good. I've been in a constant state of anxiety about the environment, that I'm not doing enough and that no one is doing enough. Thanks Greta. All you've done is make me anxious. I'm gonna take it back. She's doing
I
fantastic.
saw somebody had a meme of...
But I do feel anxious all the time that I could be doing more about the environment, but also our elected officials could be doing a damn thing about the environment. But part of what I can do is I can grow some plants.
Yeah, even some redundant peppers.
Yeah.
It'll look nice.
It'll look nice. Well, and I'll feel proud if I do actually get a pepper that we can eat.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
We'll
nothing
stick
beats...
it in a Watson because we don't cook.
The nothing beats... Well, there's so many different kinds of pepper here, and so many of them are dried, that when we get like that fresh, bright red one, like I wonder where this actual peppers come from. Like we get
The seeds themselves look like someone ate a pepper and spit out the seeds into this little bag for me. They did not look like especially assembled. But I mean,
we could have a pepper off. People like those like spicy pepper videos on YouTube.
That's true.
We could
That's
test a bag pepper from X location to a real homegrown Sichuan pepper that.
yeah, but I mean, like the peppers we buy at the supermarket are local.
Yeah.
Our supermarket produce does say where it comes from, and peppers particularly are local.
There's usually somebody like outside of everyone's building. Some
Yeah.
old woman with a basket full of
Yeah.
like 6 babies
Right.
size.
Peppers are
basket.
something that grow really well here. So we're not cutting down on transportation costs
We
necessarily.
should take ours and go out front. and
But
try to
just
sell.
growing more plant life on the earth is like restoring some of the balance.
Yes.
So you can see I'm doing my 3-pot part. But this is a good segue into today. I'm gonna make some pesto. The garlic smells good. Because we have enough basil to make pesto.
Yeah.
Which to kick us off, can you sharpen my knife?
Oh yeah.
Because
Nothing says China's 70th birthday like a little pesto.
I don't have, what's it called, a food processor. And this was the one recipe I found that you can just chop.
Yeah.
It's called Grandma's, and I've covered up the title. Grandma's homemade pesto, or pesto like Grandma used to make. It's from the site 101cookbooks.com. So I'm gonna attempt it, and because it's basically 20 to 30 minutes of chopping, we thought, what better thing to do during a podcast? I mean, I would just do it while we're watching TV otherwise.
Yeah. So instead, let's make TV.
Yeah,
Ha!
yeah. Don't throw the knife. Alright, so I got my knife. So the first step is take 1/3 of the basil.
Whoa.
And I'm gonna try not to cut myself, but also to continue having interesting conversation. And then we have a little bit of garlic, so maybe I'll start with the garlic.
Always be safe.
Yeah. But this, I did go buy some new olive oil to do this because, as we discussed earlier, you and I, Peter,
Not the TV.
not viewers at home, that our olive oil, I don't remember buying any since you've been home from the hospital, and that's 2 years at least.
At least 2 years. So I don't remember buying it before then, so it could be
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah. Well, the date on it was 2017, so that was a while ago. But,
Who knew it went bad?
well, there was a huge scandal in America. Like 10 years ago, the New York Times found that most Italian exporters of olive oil were exporting substandard, subpar oil, but Americans couldn't tell. They were the Italian producers like, stupid Americans, they won't be able to tell. And they were right. Because like we were happily, and I say this including myself, we were happily drinking rancid olive oil and thinking that's what it's supposed to taste like. And really, to this day, I'm not sure. I mean, you and I just did a smell test of the old oil versus the new oil, and the new oil clearly smells different and better. But it is also like if
I would
there's...
say the old ones smell just basically like old and stale.
Well, a little bit
Wasn't like-
plasticky.
Yeah, it wasn't like in a rancid. It was just kind of like, yeah, it
Right.
smelled like cheap oil that had been sitting in a plastic
But
container for a long time.
if they are continuing the scheme anywhere, who is less educated about what Italian olive oil should taste like than Americans is the Chinese. So it could be we're still not getting that high quality of olive oil.
And we have, I guess, most decent grocery
We have an
stores.
Italian friend, I guess we could ask him.
Get him on the horn. It's
Yeah.
one of those cross.
You're on the air.
You're in there with. Most grocery stores do have a little section that has a couple of Italian choices. Not many.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 or 4
Well,
different
I would
kinds.
say they probably all have the same 3 brands.
Yeah.
3 or 4
Which
brands.
was
yeah.
surprising that they had even like 3 different. Like,
Well, yeah, and that is like pretty expensive, but olive oil is supposed to be expensive. If it's cheap, you're buying the tricky rancid oil. And I guess they found too, like something. This might be related to the imports. Maybe in Italy, extra virgin is a better quality, but that in America they made no difference. Is what this report found 10 years ago.
We don't trust virgins, especially extra ones.
Extra. They're just so extra. But yeah, that olive oil got a good marketing campaign, and for a while was really fooling people. and my suspicion is still fooling people in the Chinese market.
How much was the olive oil that you just bought fresh here new?
I bought 500 milliliters for 80 something kwai, which is a little more than 10, maybe. Yeah, a little more than $10.
Uh-huh.
So I don't think it's like super good olive oil.
It smelled good enough that if you put it over
We've
a
used
baguette
it. It's the same brand that we use.
Yeah. Put it over a baguette with some pepper and a tomato. You'd be fine. You'd be fine.
You'd be fine. Oh, this smells so good.
It does.
I just think that you should chop basil and garlic wherever we go. Add about half the pine nuts. Okay.
All right. You're off camera and.
Sorry, this is. I don't cook very often.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is just chopping, but it's taking a lot more of my attention than I.
So what else we got on the agenda that is not about cooking?
Oh, I wanted to talk a little bit about we went bumper free last week.
Bumper free.
And one part of this, so our podcast has sections, as you may or may not know. But last week we kind of took the bumpers off, and this week I kind of let go of the sections. I mean, I wrote an outline, but I let go of the sections entirely. And part of this was a workflow decision in that, well, you can explain why.
Well, like anything, we're trying to explore and experiment with keeping things fresh and finding what we do best.
But I mean, as far as workflow, you were editing the full thing together and putting in the bumpers, and then after the fact, editing out the bumpers as you were.
Oh, right.
So
because,
you kind of found you were doing the work twice.
Yeah. We have, once we build up the show as one piece, then I have to chop those bumpers into it.
Right, and so you made the very good point of you don't want to do work twice.
Right.
But yeah, then as far as a creativity reason, we are trying to engage
you, the viewer,
in a more spontaneous conversation, and that you find you, Peter, when you're editing us, find us more engaging when we're actually talking to each other.
Yeah, I think that's kind of any kind of talk radio or podcasting or anything is. The prepared stuff is usually kind of informational.
Yeah. But that the bonus that you and I bring to the table is that we like each other and have a certain amount of chemistry.
Chemistry, like basil and garlic.
Yeah.
I think when you're too prepared, it comes closer to what we dread of explaining things, because you go off on like a monologue of here's things that we've thought about, here's where we've come to our conclusions about them. I think the most, because we looked at the podcasts that we really enjoy listening to, and how a lot of it tends to be people that are coming up with, you bring your prepared stuff, but then like together coming up with ideas and concepts.
Yeah, it's the bouncing off of each other that's the entertainment.
Because the talk show format of just two people talking at each other, telling what these are my findings.
Right.
It's not very fun to watch unless you're like a total like information,
Well, and something that this made me think about is because like the mark of a good talk show I think of is its effortlessness. Like that's always, Conan O'Brien's strong suit is not interviews, and so when he talks to people who like he doesn't know, those are clearly very stilted conversations and maybe sometimes a little over produced, but It's not necessarily that some people are good at conversations and some people aren't, but that there you can practice getting better at stuff.
Yeah.
That it's surprising what you can practice and get better at.
Well, that's always one of those.
And one of them being like having a personality.
With debate classes, I mean, you only really tend to get those. Now, maybe it's changed, I don't know. But from when I was a kid, it was just like a couple of the most elite kids that were shining for the debate team. That was, you're going to get any class in presentation.
Right, I don't think we had debate. Maybe.
Is that another one of those things like having a flour or egg sack to teach you like a TV trope?
No, I believe in debate class. I just don't think there was enough interest in it. Or maybe I wasn't interested in it because I've never liked debate. When we had to do debate in social studies or American history, I'm thinking of that teacher was, I thought he would be the debate teacher, but he was definitely the wrestling coach, so I don't think. But we did
opinion on this.
We did debate in class, and we did like talk about, how to make an argument, and what's valid as an argument, and what rhetorical tricks you can use to like get people on your side. And I remember taking my position and arguing it, and then the guy I was debating said like his position, and I was like, you know what, that's a good point. And like debate over. Because I just like, if you think your way, that's fine. I'm fine with you thinking your way.
Right.
I don't want to disabuse you of something you hold dear.
I would say, I guess that's the only place that I ever came across was in social studies. And I had the same feeling of like, in a debate, I'm
going to change your mind?
Essentially, I don't feel qualified to continue this conversation, was my standpoint.
And then also philosophically, the idea of like, you should be able to argue any position, even ones you don't believe in.
Right.
Like, I do see the value in seeing how an argument is constructed.
Yeah.
It does feel disingenuous to me to teach people how to convince people of stuff they don't believe in.
Right.
Like, what's the point of arguing for that?
Yeah. Oh, that's
if you know, let me know in the comments.
Those lawyers that you know out there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm related to 5 million lawyers. But yeah, so you can get better at stuff. That seems like is just ingrained. And something that I have as a kind of, it gets my goat.
Oh, they're so cute.
Yes, is where I'm going with this. Is because I get complimented on my speaking and my voice a lot, and some of that is like this timbre and pitch is inborn, but actually being a clear speaker is something I've worked on my entire life in different capacities. And so as far as like using it to teach English, that's why I sound like I have a good accent that people like, that Chinese people like and other Americans like, is because I worked on it and I listened to how I sounded and I listened to how I was presenting myself. And where it gets my goat, I love being complimented, is when people, and they have, extrapolate from that is, well, just women must be better teachers.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not true. I worked at this, and so it feels unfair for you to then be like, well, but you're a woman,
that's
so you're good at
genetic.
that. Or like if you're competing with me of like, that's not fair, you're a woman and women are better. Like, well, I am better than you, but it's not because I'm a woman, it's because I worked at it.
Yeah.
And so that's, my little pettiness in the middle of this creative experiment where you and I are trying to be more open as performers and writers.
Well, and that is, you've had a decent amount of training in singing too, so that's going to bring out.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because Peter and I are about to embark on more music videos in which I sing and you sing. That I used to be in choir and I used to sing all the time and I had a pretty good voice. And like now I am frustrated when I try to sing something, and part of it is I'm older, I just don't have the high notes that I used to have. But also part of it is I used to like be practicing three days a week at least, and doing exercises and scales to be able to hit those notes and to be good at it. And so of course, now that I don't do that, I need a little practice to get in singing shape.
And you're using your voice with 20 kindergartners.
Oh yeah, and I'm trying not to wreck it while I'm there.
Which takes the strength of a circus broker.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying, and it actually gets easier when I have a cold, because then I can't. Because it is like, the thing that cuts through the room best is like, hey guys, quiet down! But I actually prefer getting to there differently. I don't like introducing more yelling just because I don't like things to be loud.
Yeah, the louder you get, the louder the classroom gets.
Right. And that's, like, I've had people offer to buy little portable microphones, because teachers use that in class, and I hate those because it just ups the decibel level, the acceptable decibel level. So I am trying.
And the audibility of it doesn't actually work very well because it gets all distorted.
Yeah. So I'm trying to cultivate the patience to not escalate, to de-escalate, but that actually is, again, is work. It's not a natural state of being. So that's where I'm.
I mean, that's like with most live acts, probably less. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just the same these days. When you're playing live, you're always have to think of like your vocals being like the loudest thing possible, because cutting through is the hardest part to find that, like that or the lead guitar, whatever is playing lead, has to pierce the wall of sound that's happening behind. And if that wall of sound is a bunch of screaming kids that are all roughly at the same timbre, I guess, that is just like so your voice,
they're all front and center in the mix.
You're gonna have to like find, and I guess that's where a lot of the teachers here, do they use microphones back home? Little microphone boxes?
I've never, outside of a lecture hall, I've never seen, if you have a class of like 30 kids, that you use a microphone, because that means something's going on.
Yeah, right, there's a problem.
I mean, to be fair, in China, you could be teaching a class of like 60 kids, but still, I prefer to manage that under the power of my own voice.
And it might not even be the kids that are making the noise. If you have like a steel hand of your class under control, it could be like that the traffic outside is like barreling down your classroom.
Right, or there's construction outside.
Yeah, I've had explosions take my class out of whack.
China's very loud. I keep knocking the camera down here.
It just adds to the excitement.
We have an overhead camera. Well, I'm saying this because live, you can't see this, but if you are watching this recorded, you're already going to see the results.
Hopefully it'll all turn out.
Yeah.
That's our little zoom action GoPro-ish camera, but our GoPro is not only not good enough to get real good action, because it's a cheap knockoff, but our action is cheese grating, so we're not zip-lining down any hills.
Alright, there's a little bit of cheese. What do? Chop, chop, chop.
That's mixing noise.
But anyway, in service of getting better at this, we're constantly thinking of new stuff to do, because we could get to a point where we're like, this is fine for what we're doing. What are we doing?
Well, and also this is part of this is our Sunday, and you have to go to work tomorrow.
Nope, I don't, because it's still a holiday.
That's right, it's still a holiday. How long?
But usually I have to go to work.
Right. But part of making
just one more day.
This our lifestyle, like furthering the idea of moving to China, having the time, having the money to make things. This is what we do with our life.
Alright.
Yeah.
So kind of trying to figure out how to make this an actual lifestyle channel.
Yeah, so we're always experimenting. Even if sometimes the inner me is like, can't we just make a formula and do that all the time? I like safety and I hate change.
Well,
But the outer me gets bored.
well, listen to the outer you,
Yeah.
because that's where the rest of us are.
Yeah, the rest of you are outside my head. I think. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
I'm not sure.
I'm
but-
pretty sure I am not imagining this existence. Okay, we need a little more cheese. But let's talk about some videos we made.
Yeah, what have we done?
So we put up recently the MCU in China, which is another explainer piece.
Oh yeah, that little guy.
Yeah, which is less than a minute even. I think.
Yeah, well, in our little attempts to, a lot of these are really short videos, because what we found is that people do tend, it's either short, super short, or super long videos that see people, that like a fine line area of 10 minutes of segments is just not an area of.
That's not what people are looking for on YouTube.
And I guess it's confusing because YouTube tends to want to, they have like that 10-minute limit or something. Like you're rewarded for going over 10 minutes, but at least do 10 minutes.
Right, well that's the threshold for your video to make money.
I think so.
So yeah, there is an inherent,
That's your reward.
there's actual reward.
Yeah. But most people are on YouTube for like a minute clips. Or
Well, yeah,
2
like
minute
it depends, I guess, if you're sitting at the bus stop and then your bus comes, or
Yeah.
you're waiting for your friend to get out of class and then they do.
I mean, I know.
Or you just want to put something on for like 5 hours. Because isn't that the other thing of like
Yeah.
10 hours of Star Trek noises while you sleep?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. But because I'll notice like even, like if I'm watching like somebody's weekly show that's like 20 minutes, a half an hour or something, sometimes it takes me days to watch that, which sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's because I've got YouTube on like while I'm doing the dishes, and then I finish the dishes after 5 minutes, so I turn that off while I go gather the laundry or whatever is going on in your daily life. Like I guess in the old days we would just leave the TV on and walk away from the home shopping network or whatever
Right.
crap that we watch. But like
Yeah.
now it's like I'm watching like a half an hour show of like some guys unbagging comic books.
Uh-huh.
I can turn that off and just go back to it, and whether I'm watching it or not, like it's just
Right,
on.
right.
It has to, I guess, really be something special that like I'm like, oh crap, this just came on. Somebody just uploaded, and I've been waiting to watch this half hour. Like,
Right.
almost never happens.
Which I think, in reference to a different video, 70 Years of China, that we also put up this week, you and I had a big discussion over, like, what do people use YouTube for versus, like, what are we as creators using it for? Because that does matter.
Yeah.
And we kind of decided people watch YouTube because they want maybe an escape or distraction or whatever, but they're not really necessarily looking to like find the new music that they love,
Yeah.
or they're not in that frame of mind where they're like open to an artistic or intellectual
Well, certainly, like even
project.
like because a lot of the stuff that I'm looking for is people doing something artistic, whether it's film or music or something.
But you do have to be in a certain, even as someone who appreciates art,
Yeah.
you need to be in a certain headspace for that. And
The people that
if
are
you're not, you're just going to click
the
past.
people that are also looking for those things, I can see them down in the comments, and a lot of it are comments, and I'm already down there in the comments while I'm listening to the song or something,
Yeah.
are people that are saying that like, I haven't finished listening to the song yet, but I felt I needed to start talking about it.
Right.
So even if it's something that like you had to go out of your way to find.
I didn't watch this, but the title made me angry.
Right. Oh, well, I mean, that's angry. I'm even talking like stuff that you like, stuff that you.
Oh,
been
so
searching
they're having
for.
like a real-time reaction.
Yeah, like for example, like I just saw, if anyone out there follows DAD, D-A-D, it's a sort of interactive storyline that's been happening for the past few months, I guess. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole big storyline. What it is isn't really that important, but it is definitely something where he pops on and tells little bits of story in different mediums, whether it's
and
a
it's something
song.
that's clearly fiction.
Yeah. But done in a way that can feel like you're interacting with, like sometimes he just plays Minecraft live, and then the next time it's something that like he's just dancing out on the like Sunset Boulevard or something, and then the next one is a fully filmed piece that's like 10 minutes long out in the desert or something. So whenever he pops on to put this new video, and by he, I think it's a conglomerate of a few people doing it, but there's one primary dad.
The dad character.
Yeah. So he just popped on and he's totally switched everything this week. And he's no longer dad. He's a new name and changed the name of his station to it's like Al-Anon or something or whatever.
Al-Anon?
It's not actually Al-Anon, but it's something like that.
Okay.
And as the story has progressed, he's not a dad. He's an alien that's been hanging out on Earth of some kind of storyline. So the video ends in this second part that has been going on for months with him with a sledgehammer standing on the roof of YouTube. And the video ends with like, this is no longer dad. And he immediately changed over the name of his channel to a new channel name. So he's changed the whole story.
Which he's kind of been teasing this alien angle for a while, right?
Yeah. So anyways, all that is just to set you up for, while I'm watching this happening as a premiere live video, everyone, because he's got about 1 billion viewers, are watching it in the live thing, and it's all flying by. And it's beautifully shot, and it's going through a bunch of different mediums at the same time. It's really hard to follow if you're watching this, however long piece is going to be. But all the people that are dying to watch this are talking over it, and it's flying by, and you can't read, and the people are just like, oh my god, that, and this, and this, and this, and this, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And they're trying to have a conversation with 6,000 people, and this dad character apparently at the same time. So, anyways, to get back to the point, is even if you are paying attention to this, you're loving what you're looking for, you are aided and ready for what's coming up next.
Yeah.
You're still talking over it and not paying attention.
Right. Well, yeah, and that's a distinction we talked about is YouTube being social media versus actually a distribution platform. Because, and in the context, to bring it back to us, of our 70th China birthday, whatever. Because that clip itself is just like, we just went out and this thing was set up to take a picture to celebrate the 70th anniversary.
We're in a public area and there's a stand for people.
Peter filmed me doing that, and then I walk off, and that's the video. Spoiler alert. And that one is one of our better performing videos, and it is just like, it's not even an ironic vlog, it's just a straight up footage from our life, and that did really well because people like that stuff on YouTube. And so what my takeaway from that was not to be discouraged that our other stuff maybe doesn't perform as well, because it's the right place because we say it's the right place, but it's not actually like a great place to find an audience for art. And given what people use YouTube for, and I think, I accept that, and we're gonna keep posting our art anyway, but not get discouraged if it doesn't do well.
Well, and the thing with a piece like that is that it's not, even that was constructed, because when you're looking at these things, you have to go from the description to the thumbnail to whatever the content is and how that content was put together. And yeah, that was just you and I in a public place. The city had set up a little stand for everyone that wanders by to come by and take little photos for the 70th anniversary.
Yeah.
And people were doing it the entire time that we were there and walking by. And so we just did it and filmed it, and I brought it home, and it was like, that's kind of cute.
Yeah.
But the thumbnail for that was a picture from when we first got here of the contest that we had of you and I kissing.
Oh, yeah. Not... It was a photography contest, and it was a different photographer who also worked at the school, one of our fellow teachers.
Yeah.
He asked us if he could take pictures of us, and then this picture
Right.
won the contest.
This is a better part of a decade, and it was, a citywide contest. And so that's completely out of context with the 70th anniversary. But
Yeah.
I thought that was funny as something that would catch people's eye, not to necessarily manipulate of like as clickbait or anything like that, but
just as a thumbnail.
just as a thumbnail, because then what else would be the thumbnail of you standing in front of 7-0? It'd be you standing instead of 7-0.
The giveaway.
Yeah. So there's nothing else to put in there. So like to package that, to turn it into a conceptual piece was this picture of you and I in front of Belujo Laojiao writing in this award-winning photograph.
Yeah.
And then mark it on the inside with text that is playing like it's like a high school yearbook of like, hey, China, had a great time, see you next year on campus. So it's a whole package, it's a conceptual package. I'm guessing most people reacted to it because it looked like you and I were up and walking around and it was the holiday festival thing, which only partially is part of
I mean, we were up and walking around, and
right, but like it's packaged.
We were out because it was the holiday.
But it's packaged in a way, completely as a fictional thing, to get your attention.
Right.
What I'm getting at is the game to play for getting noticed in a YouTube.
But if you strip away all that layer of planning, it's just a vlog.
Right.
Where mostly we're not vlogging anymore.
Right. But the work to go into making a vlog.
Just checking.
Making a vlog work means that you still have to like make a show around.
Oh yeah.
Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And all that work for 30 seconds. Like that literally is just you walking through.
Yeah.
An already pre-set up by the city of like, this is how you will celebrate the anniversary, take a picture.
Right. But then even all this commentary that you're saying is not in the video. It's just straight up, you're watching our experience.
Right.
My experience.
But I had to build that experience.
Yeah.
And all these fake ways to make it look like I'm sure like when you put that around the social media, it's a picture of you and I kissing in front of.
Right.
So it's going to be people that are going to look at it and go like, "Whoa, that's so cute."
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the 70th anniversary or the fact that like we're making a joke that it's like kind of like being on campus.
Oh yeah, because that's the other part of the joke is you sign off with like a yearbook signing.
Yeah. You seem trapped.
I feel trapped because I was reading a lot about semiotics this morning. And I'm trying desperately not to go down that route because I don't want to. But if a thing is just a thing, or you have ironically stated that it's a thing, how much does that make a difference to who's viewing it?
Right.
And it's not... Because we're also kind of this past 2 weeks been talking a lot about our creative direction, and that I, in particular, have said a lot of what I don't want to do, including I don't want to vlog, but I haven't said what I want to do, so now you and I have had discussions towards that end. And then to just put out a vlog that's so simple and refreshing and not have to make a comment on it, and you stuck a funny joke on the end and I kind of in the moment reacted in a funny way, so it is versus your character who is explicitly a satire on vloggers. There's just so much less work to be done.
Yeah.
And we went out and I did a thing and you filmed it and then you packaged it.
As opposed to things that we've spent weeks and weeks and weeks writing and doing special effects and putting into 5-minute long conceptual pieces with
Yeah, because I like the conceptual pieces, but they're a little bit exhausting sometimes.
Oh, they're totally exhausting.
to make and to consume, I think.
And then when it doesn't get half, or even a quarter amount of views of you just like walking
then that's
around.
just frustrating.
Yeah, that's where like how much of time and I think what you're getting at initially is like, what are we doing this for?
Right.
It's not so that we can be like, hey, look at us, we're wonderful and beautiful.
And I think something that's helped though in that what are we doing this for is to be stricter about what we do want than what we don't want, but also less strict in general about like, if we have a thing, let's put it on YouTube, because the kind of controlled channel we were trying to create a year ago, it wasn't getting YouTube attention, but more importantly for us, it wasn't like leading us down an interesting path because we were so strict about like, okay, well, I guess we're gonna try out a coffee vlog, or we're gonna do, okay, we have this footage from when I went to the Stone Sea. What can we make out of that? Instead of just like, well, let's try to make a thing. I feel like making this, and that feels more kind of art school, but it's more productive in terms of like when you make stuff, you get to see how you feel about it, rather than like shutting yourself off from stuff and then like not going anywhere new.
Because now that we've like, and a lot of it, doing these weekly kind of lets us just have things to generate. Like, I mean, the amount of work, technical work it takes for us to put this together and putting together subjects, and then afterwards cutting it up, taking it down, figuring out what to call each episode and all that. There's a lot of like everyday learning curves on that, which is great.
Yeah.
But then the actual us doing it, us talking about this stuff is creatively sets us in a way of like, well, what do you want to do next? And where before it was like we would sit down and we'd plan like, well, we kind of want to do a video about something, or now we're like, hey, let's make a music video. And like,
and that's more fun.
Yeah, there's an idea in your head, you came home and you're like, I have an idea for a music video, and it goes and it sounds like this, and we're like yes, we're making that video. And rather than just kind of like throwing it together, it gives a wider concept of, we did take the idea of like, well, we could just write that song real quick and then make a video for it, but instead we're taking it in and we're building a whole concept behind the story of the song, and it's not just like a couple of words thrown together, and it starts to become a concept that of the video. We went from like what's one location to like a group of locations and multiple characters, and so that's a lot more fulfilling. And then, like you're saying, it is art school, and we're just broadcasting it to like whoever possibly cares, even if it's just us. For me, every week to go through these videos and chop them up and be like, here's where we're talking about how we make this kind of video or something, like that's my art school. That's my, I mean, I went to art school, but
art school was your art school.
This is a lot funner than that art school, and it costs a lot less, weirdly.
Well, we already sunk the cost of moving to China. How long have we been doing this?
Under an hour.
Okay. I didn't want to start something new if we're going to be like, well, that's the time we have.
No, I'd say we got higher concepts. Go.
Okay. I forget what they are. But let's talk about, so there's a pair of music videos, our first year 2011 and Chengdu in 2011.
Oh yeah.
That we also posted, that are actually videos we made at the time in 2011, and that we resurrected because September 24th was our 8th anniversary in China, and so we were in a retrospective mood, and our first year is like the first big thing we made.
That was, most of it was photos.
Yeah.
We had a little bit of video
video.
because the camera that we bought was just a crappy little
And
camera.
we
and
must
it barely
have-
had video on it, so it's all
Yeah.
like pixelated and weird. But it's kind of fun to like look at that footage from 2011 that really does seem like you're like when you're like, oh, this has got to be like 10 years old. Oh, it is almost.
Yeah, but yeah, the reason it looks so old is not because it's aged, because it's
4K.
digital, but it just wasn't that good quality to start with. But it's a fun little video, and I think we had just got a Mac, so I think we didn't have Final Cut and Logic. We had whatever the free programs that
Yeah, it was
come.
like I think I put together the music with a little bit was recorded. Some of it was like live stuff from.
A lot of it was
recording.
like live voices,
Yeah.
which I really love.
And then there was a little bit of instrumentation that I put in there, percussion and stuff, and then a couple of like samples from GarageBand or something.
Yeah, and you were like, we gotta buy samples. And I'm like, we have all these samples in GarageBand. And then you were like, no, because these are the free samples that everybody uses. And like since then, I still hear some of those stings in like TV shows
Well,
or
that was
music that
The
people
first
have
that
made.
like it's not just like samples of like of a sound. It's a sample of somebody's composed.
Yeah.
And so
there's a whole riff that the Apple loops that like everybody has used, and if you know what they are, you hear them everywhere. Everyone does use them.
Yeah, it's pretty painful. Like
Yeah.
when I listen to it, I'm like, we know where that came from, and but it was funny because right after that, you were so excited about it. And the possibility that you could put that together. I think you wrote like 3 songs like immediately that week, and you're just like, this is so much fun.
Yeah, and I want to be clear, they're not songs that were good and fun to listen to. It was fun to make because it was more like playing with Play-Doh, and the loops are such that, much like my reasons for picking up the ukulele, any way you strum it, it sounds good. So like, it feels like accomplishment even though it's not.
Well, it's a lot of what like the real base of like what modern DJ stuff is. Like, you basically have sounds that you're floating in from different
But
areas.
you made a song that was a real song. I made songs that were playing around, and you made a real song.
Well, a lot of that was because I actually took like field recordings and things from outside, and that's where the we need samples. We don't need recordings of other people's work.
Yeah.
We need the actual sounds. So I went out and I made sounds out of the people building bridges and our children screaming.
And our neighbor talking.
Yeah. So that was the most basic, I think, literally the first thing that we did.
And I remember I had put because in the last couple weeks, we were like, we're going to make this project, so we need to get pictures of every class. And so you took your pictures and I took my pictures. And I put my pictures in a separate folder, or I put some of my pictures in a separate folder. And so you're like, it's done. And I'm like, where are my classes? And you're like, well, I figured you didn't get them. I'm like, I did get them.
Damn it.
And then, so we had like a disagreement over whether you should re-edit it or not. But then
Your juniors don't matter. Come on.
But in the end, you came around and you
did.
did re-edit it, which
is
like I said at the time, we'd be happy about.
Yeah.
To this day, and I am.
Because that's down that whole first year of us at that school, especially because we lived at that school. Like, there's so much about that video, as rough as it is, that is our daily life in the year that our lives completely changed.
Yeah.
So even though it's like photographic proof, a lot of it, like they're still like, oh, I wonder if that's still there.
Yeah, and some of it we know is not still there. Because the school moved the next year.
And all those kids are out of college now.
Yeah. Well, I showed the video. So that year I taught first year juniors and first year seniors, and then the math worked out. So my last year teaching at that school, the juniors I taught were now first year seniors. The grades are different in China. I'm not going to explain that. But so I showed it that like our last week of school, I was like, I brought a video that Peter and I made, and like the kids really had a good time looking for the other kids that they knew from But it was like they were not interested in anything that wasn't pictures of them.
Yeah.
So like the seniors who had graduated, they didn't care. But them and
those
their friends.
Old people?
Yeah. They did not engage with it as a movie so much as a video yearbook. But that's allowed. They're allowed to
Yeah.
Audiences are allowed to make their own choices.
Watch what I want you to watch.
Yeah.
Much like the second video, Chengdu, was that in 2012?
No, that was also 2011.
2011 still.
Yeah.
And there was no video in that one.
That was all pictures. Yeah.
So it's just another second attempt.
And that as a composition, you were much more of just like.
Yeah, there's actually like guitar and stuff, but there are a few samples in there that were taken right out of
French horn.
Yeah, out of the.
We don't have a French horn.
We do now. I have one in here because we have bought.
We have a digital French horn.
Yeah, because we did go out and we got the samples, so I have a whole orchestra from around the world now. But that was literally just a garage band.
Yeah. And it's called Airship because at the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is how we know it's 2011 because my passport got stolen and I had to go to Chengdu a couple times to replace it because that's where the American embassy is. And it's an annoying process, but it's actually not the most annoying thing we've ever done.
We thought at the times, especially like when we looked down at dinner and your purse was gone.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh no, this is... And right off the bat, too, we'd just gotten here. So...
Well, it was at the end of the school year.
But... The one thing you're not supposed to do...
Yeah.
The most important... This is going to ruin your life. What have we done? This is the worst thing that could possibly happen to us. So we were expecting, like, we're going to have to go back to America. We're going to have to live at the police station. Turned out to be a nice little weekend.
Yeah. And it, like, doubled the amount of times we had been in Chengdu, which it's the big capital city of our province, and it is a lot slicker and cooler than Luzhou.
It's pretty darn international.
And so that trip we kind of made into China RPG How to Replace Your Passport on our blog. And so we had a series of entries told from the point of view of like Peter and I as RPG characters. And so this trip to Chengdu, we felt that we had gotten so much better at getting around Chengdu and going from Luzhou to Chengdu, so getting around the country even, that it was as if we had unlocked the airship portion. And so that's why it's called the Airship.
We made some little graphics.
Yeah.
And
which maybe we'll link to that series in the description so you can see that. Back when we were still banking on vlogging being a thing. Or blogging. Yeah, we had a whole, that was where we started experimenting with a whole bunch of high concept series.
Well, yeah, if we go back from those beginning days of our first ones of there being just you putting a text paragraph of your diary log of the day.
Yeah, or like a sentence of a thing a kid said to me.
Yeah, to like sticking in a photograph, and we're like, well, all right, let's buy a camera.
Yeah.
And then it became photo essays that went along with fully written stories that you're doing to like these higher concepts which eventually led to like, I mean, little did we know at that time that was like the big beginning of people vlogging.
Yeah, like we should have been vlogging at the time.
If we just
but we were still
camera.
writing.
and as it turned out, I feel that like that just rather than us just jumping in and being like, hey, we know China, we've been here for 6 months. What we did is we spent a good 7 years actually like just writing and thinking about our thoughts of and experiencing it, so that at the time we actually got vlogging, we were bored with telling people about China.
Right, yeah, we didn't make the mistake for us, not that it's necessarily a mistake, but the mistake of trying out, like, what if we go to hotels and, like, talk about how much hotels cost, because we had already done that on our blog and, like, decided that wasn't for us.
Right. And even the fact, I mean, we did it and it's there, and I'm proud to go back and read those.
So you can read some out-of-date prices for
an
apartment in Hong Kong that may no longer be available.
That's the thing, is that it isn't gratifying as a piece of something to put out into the world for us for the future, because all that information is now
I mean,
outdated.
It changes so rapidly everywhere, but especially in China, places open and close and change their prices and change ownership, and change quality.
So by the time we had done it in blogging and then started doing vlogging, we were like, well, there's not really, I don't get any satisfaction from doing this, of wandering around and showing, because I want to make something that 1 or 10 years from now someone can look and go like, oh, it's pretty cool.
There's no time.
Yeah, if it's throwaway stuff to put out into the world, it's us talking about the meta concept of speaking about speaking, like, so that's where the Chengdu stuff was. I mean, there's some pandas in there, and it's all the basic, hey, we've been in China for a couple of months and we took pictures of pandas. So that's kind of a fun knockback to the things that.
And now at this point they are like, they're old enough to maybe have interest again. Whereas like if they were 3 years old, like who wants to see your 3-year-old pictures of Chengdu? But do you want to see 8-year-old pictures of Chengdu? Do you want to see 10-year-old pictures of Chengdu?
As we've talked about with revamping our whole in-studio system, that a lot of the photos that we've taken in Luzhou are photos that might actually be of things that don't exist anymore, that you know, somebody another 10 years from now might like go like, hey, do you have any footage of this? Yes, we do.
Yeah. That's the big library project that we're embarking on. Which, did any of that last week?
I don't think it's, well, the main video's up, and all the little ones aren't up yet.
But did any of that discussion make it in?
Oh, maybe it didn't.
I think so last week we had.
I forgot all about that.
Do this enough and you'll have every technical issue happen to you. And last week it was that one of our cameras quit and we still kept on talking for another 20 minutes. But I don't think it made it in. But so we are, since the hard drive crash and recovery, we're fully recovered, and so now we're taking the opportunity to organize all that material into a video library and a photo library. And we've been actually very careful to do it with a lot of thought to how it can be the most useful to, you know, because the point of keeping stuff is being able to access it again. So it's all about like, how is it organized? And it is, the resources I went to for this were actually in small business organization, where the main point is like, even if it's just you and a person, if you start hiring other people and then decide to organize, it's too late. You have to have a system that someone can recognize when you bring them on board, and then like your business can keep rolling. And if it's just a post-it full of cryptic keywords only you recognize, your system's not good enough. And then the other area that was very helpful in thinking about how to do this was folklorists of you know, how do you log your footage, how do you what relevant information do you need to keep track of, and every project needs to decide that for ourselves. And so what we decided, you know, we looked at what we had and what we were going to use it for. And the way I had been organizing stuff is just like name the event and name the date, which is by default how like most photo apps organize your stuff. But that's not actually how you're accessing it. So we had a big discussion over like how are you accessing it?
You're in the shadows.
I'm exhausted from all the chopping.
To get to all these different pieces to put them as a palette for whatever I'm making that's new, I need to know where they are to get to them in an artistic sense, like an artist has with their drawers of paints and photos, and I need to be able to turn to that.
So if you need like your whites organized, and I've organized it by, I bought these paints in May. Like that's not helpful. And so we I don't paint by months. We've been working together, and it is tedious because there's like a couple different strata of footage that we kind of have to work through, that some has been organized but like this, and then some was shot particularly for this, and how do we want to, because I kept saying like, well, we'll just make up the keywords and then I'll like put them in the bins, and like, nope. Peter and I have had to build every box together by looking at the sum total of what we have to make it into a packing metaphor.
Yeah, so it is absolutely like a museum archivist going in and being like...
And the boxes are the entire point, so that's not a throwaway part. That's the whole part. And then actually the sorting after you have adequate boxes is the throwaway part. Not throwaway, but like that's the easy, just like click and go.
Well, and essentially what you have like in a garage box of these are the old family photos. At some point, I mean, I guess we all hope that somebody's grandkids comes through there and like picks out and goes like, oh, look at this grandpa boob.
Yeah.
This is what they used to wear back then.
Yeah,
and what are they going to do with that? What we are trying to figure out of like, because we're still using that information ourselves. We took that information and we're using it continuously all the way through. So by filing those boxes in our garages, if we were to have grandkids or whoever in the future could go like, oh look, this is 2013 Chengdu.
Yeah. Well, because there is value added by having stuff that's old, but it's not like a lot of value.
Yeah.
The archivist still has to present that information in a way that contextualizes it. And so, yeah, like if we just had a hard drive full of old footage that a descendant of ours inherited, they would open it up and be like, I don't know what to do with all this old stuff. So it has to be usable. And actually that use case would call for a different organization system, because we're not planning to like bury these in a time capsule. We're planning to use them.
Yeah, constantly on a regular basis, which is what they're worth to me.
Yeah.
And to us as a project, what it's worth is, can I get to it and use it the way that an artist would use their paints? If you can't get to your tools, then you can't create new things. So it is a living body of stuff that is working. So the easier it is to access means the better we can create things than it is to like, boy, I hope that Uncle Booby Boo will figure this out in 300 years.
Also,
because that's how people will be named.
Booby Boo.
Yeah, that's how our names will all be amalgamated.
The other half of this is, it feels like digital is infinite, but actually storing all this stuff is not infinite. And to make sure we're making the best use of our hard drives, because that's a resource that we're spending money on. And we're spending a lot of money to get good ones that won't fail, even though all hard drives fail. And digital disposability is another issue that gets my goat. Make a cell phone that's good.
Yeah, something we don't have to
We've
keep
had cell
buying.
phones for hundreds of years now.
They're older than most children.
You shouldn't get into places where service is bad. But that's a separate rant. But anyway, we did have to go through the process and discussion of what do we want to keep and what do we want to get rid of, because we don't actually need to keep it all.
Which is again, with some kind of distant archivist that unearths things, there might be information that is useful to somebody there.
Yeah, so we are erring on the side of keeping most of it.
Right, but throw out the stuff of like our feet.
Right. Or even stuff we've decided, like scripted stuff or stuff filmed in studio. The finished product is the product. The materials used to make it, we're never going to reuse that again, because if we need to revisit that idea, we're going to go to the finished product. We'll make a new one, or we'll go to the finished product that we are keeping. So we don't, all the audio files and video files and the Final Cut files that went into making that, we don't have to keep. Yeah, but that was like a torturous decision. Like, I'm gonna hit delete. Is this really what we mean? Are we gonna hit delete? I'm gonna do it.
I gotta imagine that there's people out there that have already written papers on how much digital hoarders that we, as a society, that we become, because if everyone's taking like 100 photos an hour on their phones, Like what are, I always wonder about that. Like especially here in China when people are just taking photos of absolutely everything.
And you're paying for cloud storage, so you never come up against like.
Right.
Your phone is going to complain if it's full, but cloud storage is just going to start billing you more.
Right. And if you're taking, I mean, I've sat down with friends that are like, hey, look, I took some photos, and you're like, oh, okay, great, and a half an hour later, there's like 300 photos of them standing next to a sign.
Right.
And I'm like, what are you doing with all this stuff? Like, just forget about wasting my time of sitting here looking at these photos with you. But like, where is this all going? Because I'm sure most people aren't thinking of like, where is this digital graveyard where it's all floating off to?
Right. Yeah, this server farm, and which the more we are building up our own little hard drive empire, I think our next step is to get a cabinet and start plugging drives in, because we have, with the addition of the last 2 drives, I had to go in and like reorganize how everything is put in the room, because the way they were stored was like they were totally cooking each other, because I had, like, when it was one drive, I could just plop the one drive behind the behind the computer. When it's 6 drives, they're all cooking each other. And so now they actually occupy a space in our studio, and that it's weird to think of the hardware. I mean, people do think of hardware, that's people's jobs.
Yeah.
But I was always a software person, and so like now the more I'm getting into like dealing with the physical hardware of what we're doing, it is like it's the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, if most people are thinking, if it's not your job, you are thinking of it as like, once I press this button, it goes away. But when you're at the point of like, this is now actually taking up physical space in my house.
Yeah.
Like, it's not supposed to be doing that.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing something that what we're doing, where we need to access that to create. If you're having a business, I mean, if you opened up a 𝗖𝗵cie pizzeria, you're going to want to have those files of your invoices somewhere. And at some point, now that we don't use paper, like how from a business standpoint, how long do you have to hold on to, I don't know, 1,000 photos of your shipment of pine nuts that came in?
Right, yeah. And that all this information, it's no longer taking up space in the file cabinet, but it is taking up space. And especially with video files are still so huge, and they're getting bigger as we get actual.
8K like almost kills our computer every time.
Yeah, 4K is like, our computer's like, I'm 8 years old.
Yeah. Don't do it.
Hey buddy, I'm old. But that it still is taking up physical space in our world, which another thing that gets my goat is
the environment, the digital environment.
Well, it's killing the environment too. But that it's digital is still not a reliable form of storage.
Mm-hmm.
Like, analog is better storage. It's clunkier and more inconvenient, and it's more, well, I was going to say it's more fragile, but like if you're in a condition that's going to crack an album in half, a vinyl record in half, that's going to crack your hard drive in half, or at least
if you're like in an earthquake, if this building goes down now.
Right, the same things that an album would be susceptible, my hard drives would be susceptible to. But if I put the album away and don't play it every day, I can put it on in 20 years and it will still sound right. Whereas if I put my hard drive away and didn't fire it up every so often, that data would just have like disappeared.
That guitar I haven't changed the strings on that guitar in like 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's set in a basement for like 5.
Yeah.
And it still plays fine. I mean, it would sound better or be easier to play with brand new strings on it, but it still makes music that is good music.
Yeah,
whereas
this I'm so angry about this is I'm having this Kindle issue with the books I bought are not accessible anymore by my current account because but I had an old Kindle with all the old books downloaded on it, but I just plugged it in this week and it doesn't work anymore. Whereas if I had those 30 books on my bookshelf, I'd still have them.
Yeah.
And so I'm a Luddite this week. I mean, most times. I like technology, but it is like we're putting our faith in stuff that is more marketing than trustworthiness.
I see this every week since
I wish I said that as a grammatically correct sentence, but you know what I mean.
Most of the stuff I watch on YouTube is comic books and music based.
Yeah.
And so both of those things are ingrained in it. The die-hard people, even young kids, are getting that old original issue or the original vinyl or something. That's like when you know you're a real fan. Those are the people that are really talking when they slide out the vinyl. You're like, oh, now we're talking. Like that's the thing to have in your hand that people like covet. And granted, that's not what the world is anymore, but that's where you're looking at, like, are you a real fan of stuff? Is this throwaway stuff? Can I afford to lose my entire music collection?
Well, like, what do you own? And if it's digital, you've just licensed it, which is like, that makes me so angry.
Yeah.
It's not right.
And that's why you can find our music on Bandcamp. Not sponsored by anybody because they don't know.
Yeah. But I also just wanted to talk about This World Is Too Big, the other music video that we put out, because there's also A Day in a Chinese Park, which I like a lot.
It's just that.
Yeah.
Just the park.
It's kind of,
it's a nice song. I like it.
It's a nice song. It's edited together, some nice footage that I took. But The World Is Too Big.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked, you and I didn't talk about this at all.
Mm-hmm.
But that footage is from an event at my kindergarten, and that's the little brother of one of my students. And that when I took the footage, what I liked about it is I feel like you captured in that video with that song exactly is like this little kid surrounded by adults who's kind of perplexed, his grandma is 2 steps out of frame, and just in case you're worried, like if he was upset,
an actual lost child.
Yeah, if he was an actual lost child. But even if he was a little bit of upset, I don't think I would have taken the footage, because what I liked about what he was doing, he was just like figuring out what was happening around him and not being too impressed by what he thought.
At one point, he seemed almost a little bit like he's falling asleep on his feet. Like
And then superficially, I love the way that they dress Chinese babies here. Like he's a little adult in overalls and full-on Nike sneakers. But like just his attitude of like, what's going on around here? I don't know, but I don't like it. And I feel like...
See a lot of knees going on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I feel like without having talked to you, that's what you saw in that footage too, which feels like...
That's what you filmed.
Yeah.
And we talked that a lot about, because neither of us are videographers, and even though I'm a visual artist, and you talk about how you're not necessarily the most visual person in the world, neither of us are like trained behind a camera.
Yeah.
Which kind of gives the intention of what we point, either of us, for whatever reason, what we're pointing at is really trying to capture something more than just like, look, a thing.
Yeah. So I guess I'm patting myself on the back there. No, but what I liked about that the video did, because otherwise just I manipulated, put the video up, but that the video extended the time and looped certain actions and layered over, like played with that sense of time, so that you're locked in a cycle with this baby as the viewer. That I think is really effective.
Thank you. I feel
so
like
pat on your back.
I definitely feel like that was what I was getting from what you captured of that baby, was this that could have been a small eternity that kid was really not trapped in, and like not that he didn't looked like he needed to escape.
Yeah.
Like you said, like he was just trying to figure out.
If there
what
was
the
real
hell is
distress,
going on.
you would feel uncomfortable as the viewer.
Right.
I mean, I definitely would feel uncomfortable as the photographer.
But yeah, there's sort of like it's safe. It's a safe place of uncertainty.
Yeah.
Which is certainly.
And in an attitude that I feel the video invites you to identify with, and as it goes on, you can see more of the nuance rather than getting bored of like, okay, I see, it's a pretty park. Not to slam the other video, but like that one, it really is just like scenery and it looks nice.
Yeah.
But this one, I do feel like there's a purpose to the repetition of asking you to like join this baby in his frustration.
Right. Yeah. If it's like what, like a little over 3 minutes or something like that, like 3 minutes in this kid's head, I feel like is about the right amount of time that I wanted to spend.
Yeah.
Because I think there was about a middle point where like it could have stopped. But then I felt like that was about the time that it was probably getting interesting for the kid.
Yeah.
Where it was like, okay, now I've got where I am. Whoa, moment of, and that's where I kicked things into with some extra speed stops and stuff like that to make it actually like feel like something in his mind kicked into like I'm comfortable in realizing what this is, but really what is it? Like a heady psychedelic baby moment.
Yeah. Well, it is like I just started meditating again because I feel like I can use it. But there is something very like mindful about being in that moment with that baby, that the moment is ever changing but cyclical. That like spoke to me on that level.
Sweet. Well, it's a success for you and I.
So I hope that someone else liked it, but I don't care actually because I really liked it. So that's what matters. That's the success we're focusing on.
Exactly. That's what we feel as whatever it is that we're doing with YouTube as a project is moments like that. Whether anyone watched it or anyone cared is. Yeah. I can feel what the baby feels. Do we have anything else?
I don't really have anything else. I just want to show off, because this camera died at some point, but I think it got most of the basil chopping.
Good.
But here is our finished pesto cake.
You can bring it up closer. That's too close. Right there. There you go. That
And
should
so
be good.
it looks pretty good actually. And it smells
great from here.
delicious. We're actually going to make dinner tomorrow because we get exhausted filming these.
Already after 6.
But it was more cheese than I was expecting. And probably, I think this recipe will hold up to like, I think it's enough basil, but I probably could have put in a bunch more.
That's what I thought. Like I said, like when I would buy basil, I mean, we can't go to the grocery store here and buy basil. We have to grow it on the porch. But when I would buy it back home, it would be like you go to Stop and Shop and I'd buy 2 of those, not even the bushels, but like one of those weird little packs.
Well, we have we ordered pine nuts from Taobao, so we have plenty of pine nuts. That's always the problem with pine nuts. The recipe in true grandma fashion calls for a large clump of basil and a small handful of pine nuts. But we have plenty of pine nuts and we have the basil still growing, so we can, if this comes out,
we'll make more.
We can make more.
We can start selling them to our neighbors. I'm sure they would love pesto next door.
They might like pesto. Well, I guess they don't really like cheese in general.
Cheese would not go over well.
Our neighbors.
The nut aspect, though. Nuts and greens, although...
There is a dish that we get with pine nuts in it.
Yeah.
That, I don't know where...
We have seen pine nuts here, but we don't really know what people really do with them.
Yeah, I guess I didn't need to order them online. I could have just bought them at the store,
and
but
basil
I didn't.
is not... We have a few things that are kind of like basil here, but it's definitely a different pungent kind of basil.
But I think the Chinese palate might like basil. The cheese, though, I don't know. That's the wild card.
Cheese is a weird fluke here.
Maybe. We can make pesto for our Chinese friends. All right, let's noodles to you.